Well, we didn't have much transfers to talk about last week, Gonzo, but we've now got plenty, including one confirmed one. But before we do that, did you watch a friendly on Monday night?
I did watch it, mate. I did, yeah, really. Do you know what? I wasn't thinking I was up for much of it, to be honest with you. But it's funny, it's sort of rekindled the bug, as it were. And it just made me sort of look forward to the start of the season, really. And it was nice. I think there were things to admire in both halves, you know.
It was a bit boring.
It was boring because there were no goals, but I do find myself, you know, getting buoyed by the younger players. So I did think in the first half, I just, you know me, I like to dribble. Nathan Holland was running at everybody and really taking people on, which was exciting. You're looking for him to get the ball. And Reece Burke looked so composed. Obviously, I watched your review you did with Tom and Charlie. Reece Burke looked so composed coming out from the back as well. And who couldn't have been delighted watching Lanzini in the second half? He's such a good player, isn't he? So it just whetted the appetite for the season. And then I think everybody does it in their mind. You start thinking, what would be our starting 11 if we signed this player, and this player? It was interesting, yeah.
What did you make of Snodgrass?
Oh dear, I was mucking around. As you know, I'm trying to sort some highlights out for the next one. So I had a little play around, a little experiment, and I was sort of chopping things up and I was just trying to compartmentalise different players. So I had a bit of footage, so a bit of Nathan Holland in there, a bit of Reece Burke, and putting everyone together. And I just got to this clip of Snodgrass falling over and thought, oh crikey, you know, he's not having a good time, is he really?
No, Fulham tomorrow night, so hopefully that'll be a bit different, a bit more competitive, hopefully. We'll be doing our review straight after the game, so you can tune in for that one on Thursday. But after the Monday night's game, Gonzo, Bilic said we could have scored 5 or 6 goals, but didn't surprise him we didn't, because we're not even scoring goals in training. Is that his message to David Sullivan? Get your arse in gear and get me a striker?
I don't know. Is he giving subliminal messages? I'm not so sure. I'm pretty sure David Sullivan knows we need a striker. I'm pretty sure we all know we need a striker. But, you know, I was just buoyed enough. We have got the makings of a decent team, but I think we need 2 strikers, to be fair. Two strikers is what we're requiring. So let's hope that Hernandez is one of them, and then one other.
Well, we'll get on to that magic number 2 in a couple of minutes because, well, we'll discuss that number 2 for a reason. Joe Hart, though, he's confirmed. We did our little video on it. Has your opinion, my opinion's changed a little bit on this. Has your opinion changed at all? Because both we were really happy with Joe Hart, but it's not quite sure, right? We're not quite. There's been no sort of decisive indication from anyone, but we're not sure if there's an option to buy him at the end of the season. It doesn't seem crystal clear if there is such a clause in there or not. If there isn't one, do you stand by the fact it's a good deal, or does that sort of take the shine away from it a little bit? That if he has a good season, City's price goes up, demand goes up.
Yeah, that would sort of make sense on City's part if we've negotiated the wage right down and no loan fee. If someone's doing that to me, I'd probably want something as part of the negotiation. So maybe that was part of it. Maybe they said, all right, we'll do no loan fee. We'll pay off his wages. But if this loan works out, then we can charge what we want. That sounds like a sensible negotiation tactic from Man City's part, doesn't it? How does that make it from our point of view? I guess not so good if what we do is lose Adrian, and then at the end of the season, Hart goes back, someone else buys him, and then we no longer have Adrian. Then we are almost in a position where we have to go and find a number 1 keeper, and that's going to be a very, very difficult thing to do because Adrian's a popular. Someone said on the forum this morning, Adrian is a popular goalkeeper. Who was, I think it was Mike. I think it was Mike VP said he's a popular goalkeeper, very able, very decent. And then he was tweeting, wasn't he? He did a tweet or two, Adrian, as well. So it was very nice and very welcoming to Joe Hart, but there seems to be a little edge that he might not be entirely happy with what Sullivan said or didn't say. I didn't read the comments, to be fair.
Yeah, David Sullivan basically said Joe Hart's the best keeper he signed, and agent basically reminded him that they've got 2 keepers fighting for the shirt who are proud to play for West Ham, and they're both passionate, etc. So he's bitter, maybe. I mean, personally, I think David Sullivan's correct. I think Hart probably is the best keeper he signed. Is he correct to say it? Probably not. I think it's a bit naive, a little bit of foot and mouth moment from him. I was actually going to look. I ran out of time, to be honest, but I was going to look. I'm intrigued as to how much money they've spent on goalkeepers at West Ham. I've got a feeling it's zero. I've got a feeling Jaskalainen was free, Adrian was free, Randolph was free, Hart's on loan. I've almost got a feeling that they have spent nil on goalkeepers at West Ham. I was just intrigued anyway. But if they've got no option to buy him, no agreed fee, I think City will have us over a barrel, because if he plays well, it's going to be a case of, well, 20 million, please.
If he plays well, you'd pay 20 million, because Pickford's just gone for 30 million. Jack Butland, who I think is the best English goalkeeper, you wouldn't get him for 35, 40 million, I doubt. So if you got what turned out to be a top class goalkeeper and he had a good season in today's inflated market, 20 million, you'd pay it, wouldn't you? But I mean, we've got a good history of goalkeepers at West Ham. We do have some really good goalkeepers going right back to Parksy. We forget about Alan McKnight maybe, but we had, even recently, Robert Green was a decent keeper. David James was a decent keeper. You know, a lot of these guys have come in and they've been pretty good. We haven't done bad for keepers at West Ham.
I agree with that. I think most Premier League clubs have got decent keepers. I think most Premier League clubs could sit and say what you said. They could name the last 5 out of their last 7 first-team keepers and say they're decent, they're good. Even Swansea, they could say, well, we've had Vorm, we've got Fabianski. They're good goalkeepers as well. So I think most Premier League clubs can say it. But I'm not too keen on this. Loan deal is a bit iffy if there's no option to buy for me at the end of it. But we're going to come back to this. This whole transfer talk is going to tie into your last question, Gonzo, so bear this in mind. Arnautovic looks like it's going to go through. It looks like it's getting there eventually. 23 million or whatever. You still happy with that? It's a bit more than when we originally spoke. It was down at 15. It's all the way up to 23 now.
Yeah, as I said, you've got to adjust the parameters each season. This year's 23 million, possibly last year's 15. So, such as the increased television deal, that it might seem inflated, but it's probably the going rate. And as I said, if people like Sigurdsson end up going for 50 million, Ross Barkley goes what he's rumoured to go for, and things like that, then 23 million isn't top dollar for a Premier League player anymore. I
think it's perfect value. I think to be fair, I think Stoke are selling him too cheap, really. Because if you said to me, would you sell Lanzini for 23 million? Who the hell? He's our best player. That's Stoke's best player, and they're selling him for 23 million.
You don't think Shaqiri's their best player now?
No, I think Arnautovic is. I think if I had to pick one, who would I want to see week in, week out? Well, to be fair, I don't think there's too much between them, to be honest with you. I think they're probably the same price, really. But I'm going by the Stoke fans' reaction here, because the Stoke fans are saying he's our best ever player. You know, some people are calling for Mark Hughes to be sacked if he leaves. Some are saying, well, hang on a minute, you're the manager who's what made our best player ever want to leave. You're the one that needs to leave. I don't think it's quite as true down to the manager. I think it's about vision. I think he's maybe thinking that West Ham are a bigger club. And that's up to people to decide that watch this. If you like.
I would have Stoke players. I'd have taken Peter Crouch if I'd have had a free choice, to be honest.
Yeah, well, it's all about the money, but I think it's a good deal. I think it's a fair deal for West Ham. Hernandez.
Yes.
Are you excited?
No, I can't allow myself. Not yet.
You said last week 5 out of 10. You said 50-50. I'm not sure it was going to happen. 50-50. It must have gone up by now.
Yeah, but there's a sort of reticence. I'm a little bit of a pessimist. Do you know what I mean? I can't quite allow myself to believe it until I see him holding the shirt. That was good. How they announced Hart, wasn't it, with the team, all the youngsters coming out and all the rest of it. So I'd be interested to see how they would announce.
Do you know something? That Hart thing, I was really impressed by that, because there's been a lot of going around at minutes. Some of them you do look kind of think, bloody hell, that's a bit iffy. Why would you do that? You know, but the Hart one, I think the way they got the footage by getting people to go and buy the new shirt, and it was sort of a feature on the first day that you could buy the shirt. It was a feature. You could go do that. Anyone could do it. Me and you could have went and done it. And it's the way they took that footage and turned it in, and they used the fans as well. And I thought that announcement video was fantastic. But then they've set the standard now. What are you going to do for the next one?
It's hard to think of new ideas when you're doing stuff like that. And the world's changing. Television is not the way to do it. People have got to look for new innovative ways to announce things on the internet now. Television is dying in that sense, isn't it, the traditional way? So yeah, I thought it was quite clever.
Yeah, I've seen a few good ones from other clubs as well. There's been a few I've seen. I think that's quite a good idea. I quite like that. I like people trying different things, to be honest, even if it is a bit cringeworthy. I appreciate someone trying something different. But Hernandez, yeah, I think I'm going to say I'm an 8.5 out of 10. I think barring a last-minute fuck-up from someone, I'm quite confident he's going to be a West Ham player next season, Gonzo. I think the price is way too attractive, if you like. It's way too attractive for us to pass up. That price, if it was 30 million, I don't think we'd be going for him. If it was 25, we'd probably be on the fence thinking, well, he's a good player, but is he worth it? At that price, it's a no-brainer. They have to go get him. Will you be shocked if he's not a West Ham player then?
I won't be shocked because I don't expect him to be just yet. As I say, because I'm a pessimist. What I will be is pretty miffed if he doesn't. If we get this far and we don't, we need a top-level striker. Once you buy your top-level striker, which he is, then you can go and get your Andre Gray, okay? But the point is, we want a striker that's going to improve and be better than anything we've got. Forget the injuries for a second, okay? Just forget the injuries. Imagine Sakho's fit and Carroll's fit, okay? We need a level above. Well, Hernandez has played for Manchester United and he's played for Real Madrid. This is clearly a level above of what anything we have. That's surely what you've got to aspire to if you want to improve as a team each season. So I think we've certainly done that. The right back situation's done. If we always thought we were weak down, we needed a new left winger, let's say. That looks like that's done. And I mean someone who's ready to come in for the first team. People like Fernandez, sorry, and Masuaku were good players. Actually, that looks like they may well be very, very decent first team players at some point. But when we bought them, we didn't buy them as first team ready. We hoped they would come good. So you're buying players that are first team ready, you're improving the team. We have to do that with the striker. So if we didn't sign him, I would have zero confidence that the next one down the list would come. I would actually think, there's no Giroud, there's no Batshuayi. And I'd think, actually, like I joked about Peter Crouch earlier, I think maybe it's old Crouchy coming in or something like that. It would worry me. So I wouldn't be surprised, but I would be very, very pissed off.
Yeah, one more player. He's come out in the last couple of days. And by the way, if either of these players sign, there will be videos on our channel. So once they've signed, once you go over the excitement, come have a listen to our video on that said players. The other player, we haven't spoke about him. Right, forgive me if I say this guy's name wrong, because I'm going to be honest, I've never heard of him, Gonzo. I've never heard of him, and that's Keita of Lazio. Have you heard of him?
No, you've not been playing Championship Manager then. You haven't been playing Footy Manager if you haven't heard of him, have you?
Well, is that how you've heard of him?
No, it was actually, no, don't be ridiculous. It was FIFA. Yeah, I did. He was, yeah, he's meant to be a good player, but I did my bit of research. There's a funny story about him. He was on Barcelona's books, so he represents Senegal, but he's Spanish. He actually played for Catalonia, but FIFA don't recognise Catalonia as being a sort of a FIFA nation, so he could represent them, I think, in a friendly and then go on. And so he's of Senegalese ancestry, but he was on Barcelona's books. He went out he was doing something for Barcelona B or Barcelona Youth, and as a practical joke, he put an ice cube in one of his teammates' bed. Basically, Barcelona, to teach him a lesson, shipped him out somewhere and ended up flogging him for 300 grand. Anyway, he ended up he went on loan somewhere, ended up at Inter, and the rest is history. But yeah, there's a little backstory for him. But he's of some pedigree. I think for years they've expected him to be good.
It's not that bad. It's not as bad as stubbing a cigar out of someone's eyeball like Joey Barton, or taking an air rifle to your training ground and shooting someone. There's worse things that's been done.
No, I thought it was quite mild as well. I thought, crikey, that's a bit of a stance to take over. I thought, it's a bit of banter, really. You know, crikey, the old crazy gang days of Wimbledon. Can you imagine?
Yeah, well, I've not heard of him. I put out on Twitter to gauge fans' reaction and see what they think. To say everyone's buzzing would be the least. Everyone's getting overly excited about this one, praying it comes off. Or to put it slim, to put it sort of simple, he's fast. That's what I mean. Basically, he's fast, he's skillful, he can score goals, takes people on. But there's an edgy side to him. There is the attitude. I was reading journalists from Italy, if you like, saying that while he's a talent, there's a risk. And he's just his attitude needs sorted out, and he sort of sometimes refuses to come to training, etc. So there is a bit of a diamond in there, but it's a very bloody rough one. So, but if you can polish away at it, you could have someone. I don't want to say world class, but you could have an elite player on your hands there. He's only got a 1 year. He's only got 1 year left at Lazio, so I think that's what makes him gettable. Now, the Inter Milan link. Everyone thought he was going to Inter Milan because Perisic is going to Man U. However, they've gone and signed someone from Sampdoria today, or they're close to it. Juve have gone and got Douglas Costa and get someone else. I don't know who the hell it is. But are you excited by this one? Or is it hard to get excited because you don't know who he is?
Well, I think there's a bit of that. I watched some footage, and then everyone sent in their videos for your shout over the last 12 hours. I've had quite a few videos in. One of them, I won't spoil it, is somebody that says he watches quite a lot of Serie A, and he got very excited just watching the video because he was quite detailed in what he said as well. I thought, oh, hold on, this guy, maybe he is very good. I mean, he seemed to be adamant that if he came to West Ham, he'd be West Ham's best player. That's quite something, you know. So, yeah, I mean, I think it would be hard not to get excited. He certainly can score goals. We see a lot of footage. You don't know when you watch footage on YouTube and you've got a 1 minute intro to loads of music and they're not really, they're high-fiving their teammates. You think, hold on, nothing's happened yet. Then you'll see a couple of foul dribbles and a couple of this. Well, I watched a 4 minute video of that guy, of just him scoring goals. There was, you know, there was no garnish around it. It was literally just goals, goals, goals in Serie A. And you thought, okay, right, well, at least you've got some footage there and you've been scoring goals in one of the top leagues in Europe. So that's got to be good.
I struggle to watch stuff on. I rarely watch people on YouTube. I don't know. I just don't buy into it. I prefer to read someone that's seen him. A bit like that, your shout guy. I prefer to listen to them or read what they're saying than go watch it on YouTube and get spoon-fed certain bits of players. You won't see him. I don't know, if you saw Payet footage, I bet you any Payet footage at West Ham does not have him standing at Old Trafford while someone Mkhitaryan ran past him and said, "Go, bet you that clip of Payet's not in the bloody footage."
You've got to take him a pinch of salt. After seeing the Julian Faubert video before we signed him, I think everybody at that point, we all thought we were getting Pele, didn't we, really? And it didn't. It turned out to be a lazy bloke that smoked fags on the bench. But it certainly served as a warning. You can't believe everything that you see on YouTube. But as a guide, if you do that, if you read the bits, if you then look at his stats, I think if you take a balanced view and put it all together, it does seem like he's a decent player with some pedigree.
I get excited, but not just because of what people have said, but because when you go after players with this reputation, when you start looking at him, you see that Chelsea have been linked with him, and Juve and Inter, and you reputable called Obs out there whose scouting system is probably better than ours, who go for top players. When those clubs are after him, you think, well, hang on a minute here. We're starting to get in among the big boys here and start punching a little bit. And it's good to see us going for these people. Do you worry it's him or Marco and we're not going to get both? Or is there a little bit of you burning away that we might just get them both in?
Well, I read something today that we were getting two more players. I think it might have been Mr. Sullivan that said it as well, and they would be attackers. He didn't specify forwards, attackers. So I thought, well, hold on, if we get Hernandez and that's Arnautovic, that leaves us short up front. I would argue that we need three players. Now, I guess it depends if you want to class a left winger as an attacker. We're splitting hairs, but it's certainly not a defender, is it? You know, so I think that does leave us light. What are we then going to do? Because I think you even saw it in the friendly. Spilic is reluctant to play Ayew as a centre forward. So what are we then going in? You know, you're sort of going into it with maybe Hernandez as your main striker and then Fletcher as backup because the other guys might or might not be injured.
I think that friendly, I think Bilic could be playing a little bit of bluff there. I think if Bilic puts Ayew up front in a friendly, bangs in a hat-trick, someone's going to say, there's your striker. So I think if Bilic plays him attacking mid and sticks a striker up front who's not scoring in training by the sounds of it, Martinez or Fletcher, sounds like they're not scoring. So if he puts his striker up who's not going to score, he can turn around and say, look, I still don't have a bloody striker. Even if you go get Hernandez, I've got one striker. So I think it's a game of bluff by Bilic here. And if so, I think that's a clever move.
Well, I would agree with Bilic. I think he needs two. I think we need to sign two strikers and the winger. And if obviously I would expect Snodgrass and or Faguli to go. Faguli looked quite sharp in that friendly. I know it's a friendly, and they were. I think it was Sturm Graz's second team. So, but I think Faguli deserves the chance of another season with us. Snodgrass probably will get moved on.
What I will say, that's my next point. If we go get two of them, which you're right, it was David Sullivan. That was one of my questions when I said the magic number 2. He said 2 attackers. Do you think he means 2 attackers? However, if 1 or 2 leave, we then go for 3, then 4.
Yeah, well, you say about Bilic playing bluff. I would expect an owner to play bluff. If I'm going into Jessop's to buy a new camera, I don't walk in there and say I've got 400 quid in my pocket. No, far from it. Do you know what I mean? I'd like them to think I've got 300, try and upsell me, and hopefully I'll get a £400 camera for 330 quid. Job's a good one, right?
Yeah, I get what you're saying, actually. And especially when you're going after 2 left wingers, the very daftest thing you could do is say that you're having them both. You want to make both clubs think you're only taking one.
Absolutely.
Inter's not playing what Lazio want, but we are. And Stoke have got a player that wants to go to West Ham. So Stoke have to get the transfer to West Ham done. And Lazio want him to come to us because we're paying the money. And I've seen Lazio didn't play him in the friendly tonight. And Lazio sort of, there's no direct quote, but apparently the message was, we will decide where you go, not you, because we're taking whoever's got the money. And if they're not paying up, you're not going there. So I wonder if, like you said, Sullivan's playing a game of bluff. I wonder if Faguli's going to be the one that leaves, and we're going to try and get both of these wingers in, as well as Hernandez. And I'll tell you what, if that happens, David Sullivan, you are a hero.
Sorry, just on that. I mean, I think the thing is, you look at someone like Everton. Everyone knows Everton have got money. It's clear. I don't mean just because of Lukaku. Even before Lukaku, Everton made it clear they had money. If you looked at West Ham all the way through, you'd think, oh, West Ham are skint. West Ham are not spending. Look, they got the right back for free. Oh, look, they're haggling over Joe Hart. They don't want to pay all his wages. There's nothing coming out of West Ham to suggest, nothing at all, that we would have 50, 60 million to spend. But I actually think we do. And we should have as well. We've recouped a lot of money, and that's really what we should have from the television pot. So it would be, we might be totally wrong, it would be the ultimate game of bluff if he convinced everybody we were skint, but we actually had 60 million and we end up with 3 top quality signings, bang, 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 like that. It'd be brilliant.
Yeah, just to wrap up the incomings, if we basically signed Hernandez, Arnautovic and Gray, or another £50 million player, our net spend, provided no one leaves, is about 43 million, which is relatively, you'd imagine there's another 10 million there somewhere. So if Faguli leaves for 5 million or something, that's a 15 million sort of money from somewhere to spend. So that's an interesting one. And one player dropping, some people are saying he's dropping hints. I don't think he is. Jack Wilshere. He commented, Joe Hart put up on Instagram, he's on his way to his next adventure. Jack Wilshere commented saying, see you in London. And then when West Ham announced it, Jack Wilshere quoted it and said something along the lines of fantastic signing for West Ham. Do you read anything into that like some people are?
I wish. I'd love Jack Wilshere. I think he would, as you know, I think he would link up with Lanzini very, very well indeed. Pass and move. I think the rumoured value of 6 million to Sampdoria, I think at 6 million, you buy Jack Wilshere all day long because he's a £30 million player. The injuries make him not a £30 million player. I think you've got to take his tweets with a pinch of salt. You've got to remember Jack Wilshere's parents are West Ham fans, so he is probably going to tweet about West Ham a little bit more than he might normally, so I wouldn't read too much into it.
He's also mates with Joe Hart.
Okay, well, there you go. Yeah, makes Joe Hart and a West Ham fan. So
when he says see you in London, I think people are forgetting Jack actually lives in London. It's not like I'm coming to London with you. See you when we both get there. It was a case of see you when you're in London. It's just chatting to his friend, really. But it's a bit like Lanzini always favouring Karen Brady's daughter's stuff on Instagram. They're just friends. There's nothing into it. Lanzini and Karen Brady's daughter are just friends. He favourites all their pictures, but it doesn't matter. They're just friends. Outgoings, rumours. One of the keepers is going. We don't know which one yet. We'll soon find out. Snodgrass, Faguli, again, just whispers right now. One player that did leave, though. Were you surprised at this one, George Dobson? He's gone to Rotterdam.
Yeah, well, I was surprised. Initially, I thought it was a loan, and I found out it was permanent. But I think we worked quite hard. I think he might have come from Arsenal. I think we worked quite hard to prize him out of Arsenal's academy, if I remember rightly. So that's quite strange. Having said that, from the same country, we've brought someone over from Ajax today, a promising youngster. They're very busy. They're very busy. Those players that scouting group and Terry Wesley and all the rest of it, they certainly do have quite a high turnover of players.
Is this where it gets clever? Because I was surprised he left, right? I was surprised he left because I thought he was held in high regard. He didn't have the best time at Walsall last season, but he came back. He was in the team when they clinched promotion in the under-23s. But this is where it gets clever because people criticise Chelsea's academy. But a lot of people that are obviously pro-Chelsea make the argument, well, actually, they go out and buy talent and take them, loan them out to showcase their talent. And if they don't make it at Chelsea, they sell them on and make a load of money. So actually, the transfers are actually not only paying for the academy, but they're starting to turn over enough profit that's actually a revenue stream for the club here. And I wonder, because we sold them for a fee, we don't know how much. I'd be very surprised if it's over £500,000. But I just wonder maybe this is sort of what we're trying to look to do, bring in a few players and sell them on for a little bit extra. Not quite on Chelsea's scale, where we're going and paying $2 million for an 18-year-old and flogging him for, like that Christensen who's out at who's on loan at Mönchengladbach. He's now worth about 20 million. I don't think he's played a game for Chelsea yet. Their current longest-serving player, now Terry's left, has never played a game at Chelsea, but he's been on loan 9 times.
And it's constant. When you look at Nathan Ake, yes, they brought him back last season, but he sat on the bench for most of the time. He's just gone to Bournemouth for a decent fee. It's really worked for him. I mean, people say, obviously Kevin De Bruyne, I think he was bought from Wolfsburg for 50-odd million, but I think they still sold him for 20-odd million. He was somewhere. The same with Lukaku. They sold Lukaku for 28 million. It's a huge money maker. And when we were looking at the friendly the other day, I think he mentioned that Martinez, who I thought looked quite sharp, actually, Martinez was 2.4 million. Well, do you know what? If Martinez goes back out on loan this season and bangs in some goals for a championship team, then he'll go for a lot more than 2.4 million. Because you've just seen, I think you've got a Sombalonga and some other fella have both gone for about 15 million. Wolves have signed somebody from Portugal, possibly. I don't know. I've got it stuck in me for some reason. But 15 million, that's what championship clubs are spending. So, yeah, I mean, as you say, maybe not Chelsea's riches, but it certainly can be a quite high turnover of player in terms of money. But hopefully, the thing is, I wouldn't like to be fully like Chelsea because so few of them get into their first team. I would like to think, actually, there's 2 or 3 in our current under...
Of course, but just to counter that, how many are getting into our team right now?
Well, none, but I really... I desperately want that to change. I really do.
Of course we do, but you've got to look and say, apart from Tompkins and Noble, no one's got into our team. So you may as well, instead of Freddie Sears bringing him in, he looks all right, and then just release him. You might as well, if they're not good enough, cut them off, sell them.
They weren't. They weren't. I mean, and Freddie Sears, and we love him to bits. We all do. But he went out and he found his level. I like to think that I'm hopeful because I'm trying to I'm pessimistic in terms of transfers, but in terms of youth, I'm optimistic. But a new scouting and recruitment process has got our academy and under 23s, particularly if you like, the development squad, whatever it's called, with enough quality of player that actually they are Premier League standard if we can get them the chance.
Yeah, but you were right. That was Freddie Sears' level. What I'm saying is, if that happens, we realise we should be selling them to a championship club and getting out where we can get a fee for, make him look good and get him out. That's what Chelsea do. But anyway, enough talk about Chelsea Academy. Let's get back to West Ham. It's almost question time, so get your questions ready. I'll be jotting them down in a couple of minutes, but don't fire them in yet. Jack Collison is now a coach at West Ham under 14s and 16s. That's the type of thing that just gives everyone a lift. We will never look at the results from under 14s and 16s, see if it's working. To be honest, I don't know if we really care as much as wanting them to do well. I'm not going to get cut up if the under 14s lose a game. But I think it's fantastic to see Jack back at West Ham. It just gives everyone a lift, doesn't it?
Well, he's such a lovely guy. He's West Ham, proper West Ham. Everyone was gutted for him that his career was cut short. I'll never forget that tragic thing that happened with his dad. There's a lot of goodwill, a lot of love for Jack Collison, and good luck to him. He's exactly what you want. That is a West Ham family. Talk about West Ham family. That's West Ham family. You know, get the people, get the ex-guys involved. And do you know what? His playing career was cut short. Hopefully he can have a long and prosperous coaching career.
We've also got Matt Upson, who he was back with the club in January. He was sort of training with the youth team. There's now some talk that he's actually maybe a coach of a youth team now, because he was spotted in the training gear again. Are you fussed about that one while we're buzzing about Jack Collison? Are you fussed about Matt Upson?
I struggle a bit with Upson. I struggle a bit with Upson. I really do. And to be fair, it probably has no bearing on his coaching ability, but I just felt he lacked heart and commitment. And that year we went down, where Scott Parker won the PFA Player of the Year, or whatever he won, Football Writers Player of the Year, perhaps. I thought Matt Upson lacked a bit of testicular fortitude, if you know what I mean. So because of that, I find it hard to warm to him. But you know what? Probably has no bearing. If he's a good coach, if he's got good technical ideas and he's a good communicator, he may well be a fine coach.
Yeah, we'll wait and see. But anyway, get your questions in now. We'll start jotting them down. We're saying that Ajax player is a 16-year-old left winger. Anur El Masari. Yes, I've got that one rolling off the tongue already. Hopefully we'll see him at some point. Thames Ironworks are playing this Saturday against Mayton Bakers at the Barking Rugby Club. Kickoff is at 2 o'clock. So if you want to go along and have a look, feel free. And let us know how well the team play. You can get in touch with us down below. Antonio's doubtful for the start of the season. Gonzo, what a kick in the teeth that is.
Isn't it just? Isn't it just? Yeah. He never has the long-term fitness things, Antonio, does he? He's a big, strong boy, fit as a fiddle, but does get the odd knock. And, yeah, that is frustrating. I was rather hoping we would be able to put out our first-choice 11 at the starting game. We will need to against Man United, who are buying players at the moment as well.
Yeah, it's the thing is, we've just lost our sort of main threat. The main threat might change drastically over the next week, but currently, right now, that is our main threat. So it's a bit of a blow. That is it, really. So it's now time for the questions. Last question I'm going to ask you before I start asking everyone's questions. If you could bring one ex-player back as a coach after Jack, who would you bring back?
As a coach? It'd have to be a thinker. It's got to be a thinker. There's no good having somebody that was technically blessed, because a technically gifted player is not sure how he did it. You need someone that's trained hard and is quite intelligent. You probably look at someone like Teddy Sheringham, actually, who's a good thinker of the game, good communicator. Maybe someone like that off the top of my head, but you've given me a couple of seconds to think about it. I'm sure there are others as well.
Yeah, it's funny enough. Teddy Sheringham just took over as an Indian or Chinese. He just took over as a manager.
Takeaway.
Yeah. So good old Teddy's gone out there somewhere. No, not a takeaway. He's
right, sorry. A Chinese or Indian what?
So he's football club. He's followed the check. Right. He's followed.
I was going to say, Adam Mighty, you've fallen.
So, but for me, I would take back Rio. I think he's got a little bit of intelligence about him. I think he's a good pundit when he speaks sense. But if it wasn't Rio, it would actually be Trevor Sinclair. I think I really enjoy him. I think a lot of people on Match of the Day are dickheads, but I can actually sit and listen to Trevor Sinclair and not think you're a dickhead. Right, question time. We're kicking off with the same question, Gonzo. Sam, every week, Sam. How worried are you on a scale of 1 to 10?
What was I last week? I was 6. I was 6 last week.
Yeah, you're starting to creep up a little bit.
What, in a worried stakes? No. I'm still 6. I'm steady Eddie, Sam. Steady Eddie. 6?
Despite all the rumours going on, you're still...
Well, they're rumours, aren't they? So I'm not going up. I'm not getting more worried. I'm staying in the middle.
It's not rumours, though. This is like the Joe Hart stage. When Joe Hart wasn't confirmed, we were all quite confident it was going to happen. I'm at that stage with Hernandez and Arnautovic. I'm quite confident they're going to join.
Well, we'll discuss it. Sam can message in next week, can't he? And we'll see if it's different. And then I should be at 3.
Yeah, I'm a 3. I've always been quite chilled this window, I think, though, haven't I? I think I've always been quite calm. I'm even calmer now, to be honest with you. Raymond, if we sign everyone, let's include Keita for this one. What's your front 4?
Are we playing 4-4-2, do you think?
Well, no, because it's front 4. How would you do a front 4 out of 4?
I thought you meant to the 2 wingers. So you're getting one guy behind one striker. Okay, so let's go Let's imagine it's Hernandez up front. I would put Lanzini in behind, and then I guess we're looking for 2 wide players, which would be Arnautovic. I mean, when he needs someone on the right, it would have to be Antonio. I think that would be mine, Raymond, if you're playing that formation.
It depends who we're playing. Who are we playing? Are we playing someone we're going to have the ball for 30%, or are we having someone where we're going to be dominating them? You know, if I had a fully fit Andy Carroll, I wouldn't necessarily rule him out completely. It depends. If we're playing Arsenal, I'm probably playing Andy Carroll, truth be told. But on an average day, your sort of most used formation, I'm going to piss a few people off here. I'd have Hernandez up front, Lanzini in behind him, Antonio on the right, Ayew on the left. I think that's Ayew's spot until he's got to lose that. For me, I think he gets too much stick. I've seen a lot of people saying they'd sell Ayew. I think I see something a lot of people don't, or I think I'm the one that's going mad, to be honest, because I think his link-up play with Lanzini is fantastic. I think if you get a striker that can play football with his feet properly, I think Ayew would really, really shine. So that would be my front four anyway, but I know I'm not going to be in the majority here. We've got, I've struggled to write all these down sometimes. Ian says, are you worried that Fletcher won't make it?
Not really, Ian, no. I'm not worried at all. He either will or he won't. It's not something that particularly worries me. Again, if he doesn't, I'm sure he'll find his level. There's something there. There is something there. It's just whether we have got the patience to wait for that to happen. He may well have to drop down before he rises up again. But if we're buying players for 23 million and buying players that are going to be on 145 grand a week, we probably don't have time to allow him to develop in the first team. And he's not 17, 18, is he? I mean, he's going to need first team football, so he's probably going to have to go somewhere else to get it.
I like him. I think there's something there. But the thing is, I'd keep him or Martinez around the squad next season. One of them, 100%. One's getting loaned, for me, one's getting loaned out, and the other one's playing under 23 football on a Monday night, unless we know we're going to need them on the Saturday. And I'd probably keep Fletcher at this point in time and I'd loan Martinez out personally. I think Fletcher needs more chances. You know, getting 5 minutes at the end of the game, you're not going to do anything unless a chance falls at your feet and you tuck it away. You need 20 to 30 minutes minimum to have a good impact and for people to get the feel of the pitch and stuff. But yeah, I think he could do it, to be honest. But the funny thing is, Gonzo, this is the type of player we were just speaking about. If come next summer he's not made it, you sell him. 2 million, 3 million, whatever. I cut your losses and get him out because he's now 22, 23 years old at the age or whatever. If he's not done it this year, I think you need to be shipping him out. You get your money. Don't let his contract run out and you let him go for free like we have in the past. This is where you start taking money for your players who just don't quite make it. Say to him, sorry, mate, Championship's your level. Championship club, do you want him for whatever million? People will take punts on players like that. Zach, Antonio or Arnautovic?
Antonio.
Yeah, same with me, actually. Well, to be fair, we're just on our front four, haven't we? I've got Antonio. To me, Lanzini's the only player ahead of him on the team sheet for me right now. He's sort of your second one that gets written in as... Right, okay. I'm going to take Tom's word on this, Gonzo. We've got some sort of news that's come out tonight. If this is wrong, I'm going to smack him.
So out Tom?
Yes, but other people are sort of backing him up here. African nations apparently has been moved to the summer.
Oh, that'd be fine.
Does that change everything?
Changes everything. Absolutely changes everything. I've never liked more than 2 African players in the team for that exact reason. Because they just disappear every other year. They disappear middle of the season. They get injuries. They disappear for 6-7 weeks. Changes everything. You know, you can. There's some really good talent emerging from the continent there. You know,
this is going to weird question. Is this African Nations Cup thing? Do you think this is why we're in for Keita? The clubs would have known it's a way to get moved. Probably the word would have come out. Nations. Like the African nations players would have known it's a way to get moved. So do you think that this price, the African players' prices are now a way to go up? Because maybe they didn't, but do you not think sometimes maybe clubs like us, people like us, would say, well, hang on, we can't go get an African player. But now this thing around them's been removed. For me, I think their value, some of them anyway, their value goes up a little bit.
Of course you would. You'd be mad not to as an employer. If someone's going to disappear every other year for a large period, and it's not like footballers work 12 months of the year, there's a football season. And if they're going to disappear in the middle of it, then of course you would value them lower than other players that are available all the time. Market force just dictates that. So yeah, I would imagine that their value would go up.
Yeah, that's good news anyway. Interesting, actually. I wonder if that's going to change a lot of people's targets very drastically in the next week. All of a sudden, Slimani becomes a lot more desirable when he's not going to disappear on you in January. Ayew becomes Feghouli. We're looking to sell Feghouli. For me, his price goes up a bit now. He's not going to be disappearing in January anymore like he was. So I wonder if those prices are a way to go up a little bit. I think there's going to be a market sort of spike. Back to the questions from the people that are watching live. Vernon, Keita or Hernandez?
Hernandez, proven to score goals in the Premier League. Keita, still a question. As good as he looks, as proven as he is in Syria. I think I looked. He's played 100-odd games, scored 30-odd goals. I think Hernandez has proved he can play in the Premier League and has a far better goal scoring rate than that, albeit from a slightly more advanced position. So I'll go with Hernandez. Yeah,
same with me, because I know who he is. I don't know who this Keita is. I'm not just going to sit here and pretend I know who he is for the sake of speaking about him on a show. I've never heard of him. The funny thing is, so I've got 18-1 on him joining West Ham, Gonzo.
How much you gone?
I'm not disclosing that. I've got
18-1. Well, you've not put a pound on, have you? You've not put a pound on.
No, it's more than a pound. I can say
less than £20.
It's less than £20.
Yeah, but he's £5 at 18-1. That's what he's done. Everyone, he's being coy.
Yeah, well, we'll see. Mike says, "Do you think we struggle with transition from defence to attack?"
Oh, that's a tactical question, Mike.
This guy's the thinking coach that you were talking about earlier.
That's it. Get him in. It's Teddy.
West Ham. If he's ever played for West Ham, he's qualified.
Do I think the transition? You do realise you're messaging Hammers chat, don't you, Mike? Crikey. I think, Mike, we're a counter-attacking team. I think Bilic sets us up as a counter-attacking team. I think what has thwarted that from all of his tenure has been a lack of pace to spring on a counter-attack. If Antonio's not a part of it, we struggle. So that transition, which he wants to do quickly, it seems, would certainly be aided by having a little bit more pace in the team. Well, a lot more pace in the team, actually.
Yeah. The thing is, though, we didn't struggle in the first season with Bilic, right? If anything, I think we were one of the best teams in the league at going for a defence like that. We could be defending the corridor, and 30 seconds later, jogging back to the halfway line, waiting for the other team to kick off. We could go like that. Newcastle at home, the prime example. Moses went bombing through, smashed off the bar. Payet was there to tap it in, etc. We used to be quick. But I think, I know people, the worst thing is people here really say, it's because of Noble. It's not because of Noble. He was in the team the first year as well. If Noble's got a pass on, he will play it. And Obiang will play it. The problem is, people in front of him need to shift, and they need to shift quickly. And this is where I suppose the downfall to having Andy Carroll is, when Andy Carroll's the spearhead of this counter-attack, quite often he gets overtook by the winger. And the winger's ready to cross in, Andy Carroll's 20 yards away. And also because Andy Carroll's been on the front post at the corner.
Yes, yeah, that's true.
So I think if we can change it a little bit, I don't think we struggle too much, but I do think tactics could do with a bit of an adaptation. Oh, for God's sake, I've messed up here. Someone asked a question saying, do you think Slav might struggle with big egos in? I've written down that Slav asked the question, so I don't think Bilic is asking.
Well, so he loves this show, Bilic. He should be preparing for tomorrow, really. Is the question, does he struggle with big egos in the team?
Will he struggle? Because he is getting in big egos here. Hart, Zabaleta, or should I say big characters. But tell you what, this Arnautovic has got a bloody big ego.
I don't know. It's a good theory. He had a Malfitano out, didn't he, pretty quickly for something or other. Clearly he had a falling out with Payet at some point because he outed him publicly, didn't he?
Arbeloa as well.
Arbeloa would have had a... We don't know anything about his character. He wasn't around long enough, but you'd imagine, bearing in mind he played for some big football clubs, he probably had quite a high opinion of his standard and where he should be. Who knows? Time will tell.
Does he struggle, or is it authority? I suppose it depends how you look at it, really. I like to think it's authority, and if you question him, he will out you. He will remain the boss man. And you know something? Is exactly what Sir Alex Ferguson used to do. No one complained when he did it, did they? If someone questioned him, Roy Keane, David Beckham, doesn't matter who you are, as soon as you turn on the manager or you question the manager, you're out that bloody door. And I think you have to do that. The manager has to have the biggest ego in that change room. The manager has to have the biggest dick when you have a competition.
Do you know what the problem is with football on that? Is the manager is not the highest paid person in that dressing room. And I think that is a massive thing when people are looking at it and looking at him. I'd like to see, it's never going to happen. I'd like to see wages for players at a certain level and the manager being the highest paid player in the club. It sort of makes sense. In every other company, that's the way things are.
Justin, Batshuayi on loan. Would you like him as the second striker?
Yeah, that would do. That would do. I'm not sure it would do for Batshuayi, though. Because if he was the second striker and he was on loan and we purchased Hernandez, then how much game time would Batshuayi get? I think wherever Batshuayi goes, if he goes anywhere, he's going to need to feel that he's wanted and guaranteed first-team football.
Yeah, I quite agree. To be honest, do you know something? David Sullivan, if he manages to get Arnautovic and Hernandez, if we get another striker, for me, David Sullivan gets a free pass here. He can go get anyone he wants, to be truth be told. If he wants to go take a punt, he can go take a punt. I'll be that happy. I think he almost gets a wild card, if you like. I think he's earned that wild card. Might be a bit risky, but I think he's done his job. Mike is asking, how will Fernandez fit in next season?
He'll be a substitute, I'd imagine. But he looked good. Again, he looked good in the pre-season round. He'll be interested to see the next one tomorrow because they've got another few days training under their belts. And he's got promise. He looks like he's improving season upon season. That's all you can ask with young players. He's a big boy as well. He looks very athletic and very strong. I think he'll be a substitute. I think he'll be on the bench regularly. But I think you'll get to the end of the season, and some of them, obviously, a majority of them will be substitute appearances. But we'll get to the end of the season and we'll see Fernandez in the column of games played. He'll have played 20-odd games.
I hope so. I bloody like that boy. I really, really like that boy. I'll come on to a question in a second, which leads into this one. Jonathan is asking, how many players do you think we will get in total?
So we've got Zabaleta, Hart, which are the two already in. 5, not including like the lads that's come from Ajax and stuff like that. 5 senior players, if you like, first team senior players.
I'll say 5 as well, possibly 6. I've got a feeling we might go for Wiltshire on loan if he's available. Once we've done our business, once the strikers are in, the wingers are in, if there's money in the pot and Wiltshire's not got a club, I wouldn't be surprised. But putting a half-hearted bid saying, listen, if he's going, we're not having to pay a fee, we're not having to get mugged off with wages. We would like Joe Hart, we would like Wiltshire at West Ham, please. But I don't think it'll be a case of, okay, we'll pay 4 million loan fee. I don't think it'll be a serious loan fee. I think it'll be if he's there, we'll take him. Gary's asking if Keita is injured for the start of the season. I'm not sure he's injured for the start of the season. He certainly had a knock, but I'm not 100% sure he's going to miss the start of the season. I don't think he is. I think people are asking about Sacco and Carroll. We've covered this a few times. We'll leave it for this week. We're not going to bother talking about them two this week. Lee is asking, this is an interesting one. Wiltshire, I assume on loan, or Cullen?
I didn't mention Cullen earlier. You asked me about the friendly. I thought Cullen was decent as well. Yeah, I'm a big fan of giving our young players a chance, and he looks like he can link the play 1-2s, that sort of thing. Low centre of gravity. We love those players. I love those players. They're fantastic. Given the choice, I would be inclined to give Cullen a go, but I would still love Wiltshire to come in. But if it was a choice between the two, I probably would be quite inclined to give Cullen a go. There's 2 or 3 of those young players I'd like to see given a go off the bench and, that sort of thing.
this is where I tie it into Fernandez, Cullen, but you've also got Fernandez. I don't think we need Jack Wilshere personally. I think Kiati, Obiang, Noble, Fernandez, Cullen. I think that's your five. That's your five midfielders. Keep them. Don't bring in a loanee from Arsenal. There's no need for it.
Well, I'm a great fan of this, actually. I think this is the way you really should build a squad. So you've got your positions and you have one youngster that is ready there, okay, just to come in off the bench as a reserve if needed, but you actually use them, so you give them the same. I said the same with a striker, one central defender. Do you know what I mean? So you have your experience, you have your Font, Bonner, Reed, Ginge, but then there's a Rice or there's a Burke sat there. It's the same with the wingers. You know, let's get them in there. You've got your main guys, you've got Ayew, you've got Arnautovic, you've got Faguli, and you've got Antonio, but all those are injured. Then you have Nathan Holland on the bench. Give him a run. Just like almost in every position, one youngster there ready to go, you know?
Yeah. Mark SB, would you have James Tompkins back?
I like Tompkins. I like him. I like him as a player. He's a nice lad. He's good in the dressing room. But I've just said, Mark, hello, by the way, mate. I've just said what I've just said. I don't think there's any space for him to come back. You know, bless him. It's now time for Burke and Rice and Oxford's on. I just don't see any space for him, Mark.
I don't think he's good enough. I've said it before. To be honest, I don't get as much stick as I thought I would for saying this. Since he's gone to Palace, whenever I watch him, I think, Christ, we mugged Palace off to get as much money. I think while he was here, he was loved. I thought he did well when he was here, but some players just fit at some clubs. I think Tompkins and West Ham was one of those fits. And whenever I watched Palace struggle, he was often at the fault of the goals. And I think we've moved on from him, unfortunately. MOB says, what is your starting defence for next season? Let's say it's 4 at the back.
If it's 4 at the back, then that's easy, really, isn't it? Because it's Zabaleta at right back. Then we've got Reed and we've got a Bonner. Then there's your one. Those 3 shoo-ins for me.
Just told me it was easy.
Well, it was until I thought about left back. Cresswell in the first half, Masuaku in the second. I don't know. Listen, I've got my son to answer to. Cresswell's his favourite player, but Masuaku does look really good. I'll start with Masuaku.
Yeah, it's Masuaku for me. I'm the same as you, but it's Masuaku for me. Last question. I can't remember who asked this now. I picked it up. I think it was Robert. Robert was asking, what about Ayew next season? Because he feels Ayew's been cast aside a little bit here.
I'm not sure he's been cast aside. I think he's well involved with this.
I think he means he's been linked with moves away. We're bringing in another left winger.
Well, I don't think Ayew is a left winger. I've got to say, I think Ayew lacks the pace to be a winger. I've wanted to see Ayew play more as a striker, and if not, I want to see him play centrally for all the reasons that Geo just said. He links to play well. I think what Geo said about if he got next to a striker who could manipulate the ball better, then I think he could make runs. He could make runs off that striker, knowing he would get the ball back and he'd be more confident to make those runs. But he's a central player for me. He lacks the pace to play wide, so I don't think he's been treated harshly in terms of us linked with other wingers. I think the question you've got to ask with Ayew is, where is the place for him centrally? And well, I gave my first team earlier, didn't I? And he wasn't in it. So, but I mean, he's a good player. I don't want to sell him.
No, I'd keep him. I think he's a fantastic player. I think he did well for us last season. I think he was our best player when he came back from the African Nations. I think he was our best player apart from Lanzini and Collins. I think he was our third best player. I think he's what he gave us. When you look at his minutes on the pitch last season to his returns, I think it was fantastic. I think if he played essentially the whole season, I think he would have scored. I think he would have been our top goal scorer, actually. I will say that. I think he would have been our top goal scorer. Last question, Andrew. Do you think we'll finish in top 6 next season?
No.
It's a no from me as well. But anyway, guys, thank you very much for joining us in this cup of tea. That's my tea. Well, it was finished a long time ago. But I thought it was a nice way to end the show. Gonzo's is finished as well. Drop a subscription if you haven't already subscribed to the channel. Drop a like if you enjoyed the video. We'll be back. Actually, we've got a new series started. I forgot to mention that one. Charlie did it. It's called If I Were Slav, where people were doing their episodes. So on the main channel, there's going to be 4 episodes. Charlie, Tom, myself, and Gonzo, where we're answering questions if we were the West Ham manager, what would we do? Now, every episode's got different questions, but some episodes have got the same questions as some of the episodes, so it's all mixed up. But also on the second channel, we've got guests, and the first guest has been on, which is Luke. So make sure you go check out Charlie's video. It's on your screen now, or it will be very, very soon. And when Arnautovic is announced, Hernandez is announced, we'll have our video on our channel. And of course, we've got our review of the friendly tomorrow night against Fulham. But Gonzo, say goodbye.
Goodbye.
And it's goodbye from me. Thank you for joining us.